Alrighty guys, yeah, so this is my 2022 Lowrider S. She has the Milwaukee 8 117 cubic inch engine in it. Now this is the first year that they put the 117 in the Lowrider S and the Lowrider ST, as well as the Road Glide and Sport Glide ST. So this is supposed to be, you know, part of their initiative to start making sportier bikes. So we'll start with the front. In terms of what I've done to the front, I haven't replaced the headlight yet, but this is a Memphis Shade bucket. This normally goes to a Road Warrior fairing. However, as you can see, I don't have a Road Warrior fairing. I have the Memphis Shades Rio Grande fairing. One thing that I will say about the fitting for this bike is that if you want to do the Rio Grande or any sports shield, I suspect, with the Lowrider S, you do need the locking system from the Memphis Shade Road Warrior fairing. So keep that in mind. I bought this as a pack with its own locking system, and the locking system, there was no way it was going to fit. This crash bar down here, I believe I got that off of Amazon. I will look it up and I will tag the name of the product down there, and so that way you guys have it. These are also just the you know, the knockoff sliders that are supposed to be like the bunking sliders from Amazon. If you look them up on Amazon, you'll see which ones I'm talking about. And then we have some Torque saddlebags. Torque saddlebags, obviously a Saddleman seat. Now my sissy bar, this is a 25-inch sissy bar and pillion from Viking leather saddlebags. Yeah, they make sissy bars as well, and they actually fitted pretty well. And then we have my brown Saddleman seat with the lattice stitching. There's gel insert at the top too. And then these are the slip-ons I was telling you guys I have. These are the Cobra Neighbor Hater 3s. These things work great. They're very loud. They're definitely going to hear you with these. And then I have Torque foot pegs. I have these on both sides. Those things are way better than the stock foot pegs, which obviously there's a lot of things that are way better than stock foot pegs. And then up to the bar setup. Like I said in my first video, these are 10-inch and they're 1.5-inch pullback LA Chopper cage fighter bars. The gauge relocation for obviously the Lowrider gauge is from Tucker Speed. So I'll tag a picture of the specific gauge relocation that I used. And then the grips are Dominion grips from Harley. The levers are Lucky Speed levers. And then these are obviously Memphis Shades hand guards. These things work great too. They're awesome. Obviously I flipped the mirrors. That's not really that huge of a modification, but it is just something that I done. She is a little dirty because we've been out riding today, but yeah. In terms of what I want to do in the future to the bike, I do eventually want some larger saddlebags, just because I do plan on going on longer trips. I don't plan on just you know, riding around Indiana. I am going to do a few videos of specific ride spots around Indiana, but in the future I plan on doing more rides around Indiana. In terms of the exhaust and the engine, I do want to do a different full exhaust. Like I said, I just don't have the funds for that right now. So there's really 3 exhausts I'm thinking about. There's the TBR short, so TBR is Two Brothers Racing, the shorty exhaust. I am thinking about the Bassani radial sweepers, just because I always like the radial sweeper look, and I've heard that they sound very good. But we're gonna go ahead and hop on the bike and start making our way home, and I'll talk to you guys more about the bike then. Alrighty guys, we are gonna start making our way home. and we'll talk about some more plans for the bike. Let's look around, make sure we're good. Always got to rev your engines for little kids. Come on. Come on. It's okay. Go. Go. Thank you. But yeah, guys, so I do also want to get a bigger or a better cam. I want to get a full system exhaust and a better cam. These are obviously plans for the future. I don't really want to tinker with the bike too much because I still want it to be reliable. Like I said, I plan on doing some long distance riding with these bikes, and I think it should be. I think it's feasible because obviously I'll need bigger saddlebags. But even with these ones, I can always fill up, a duffel bag and strap that to the sissy bar and just go. I am contemplating going, or I would like to go to the Harley-Davidson 120th anniversary in Milwaukee. I haven't bought the tickets yet, but it is something that I'm very interested in doing. So, like I said in my last video, can't remember, but one of my videos I told you guys I've been riding for about 2 years now. I know that doesn't sound like a long time. In terms of how often I was riding, up until the point that the bike broke, or up until the point where I broke the bike, I was riding to and from work every day, as well as probably an hour after work whenever I could. I really enjoy riding. I never rode motorcycles as a kid. I'm not one of those guys who's ridden motorcycles off all of his life, went from a dirt bike to an enduro or a full-on motorcycle or even a sport bike to a cruiser. I started on a cruiser. I'm still on a cruiser. I'll probably always be on cruisers. I've always just really enjoyed cruisers. They've always just really appealed to me aesthetically. And when I was a kid, I always thought if I got a motorcycle, it was going to be a Harley. And lo and behold. I learned how to ride through an MSF course, which I cannot recommend enough. I learned how to ride through an MSF course in North Carolina. I learned how to ride when I was 23 years old, and I had no experience on a motorcycle before, and after a week I was perfectly fine on a motorcycle. Obviously there were still things I needed to learn that, sometimes you won't learn unless you're out on the open road. And that is just what I did. Are we gonna get the wave? Oh, we didn't get the wave. That sucks. It looks like he was on a Sportster S too. Yeah, there's obviously still things that I need to learn on a motorcycle. You could always be learning things, especially about things you're passionate about. Yeah, I learned how to ride on my 2021 Sportster 883 iron. I'll put another picture up right there. And that bike was awesome. I loved that bike. I did customize it a little bit. I put some Viking leather saddlebags on it, and I loved it. I rode it to and from work every day. Almost rain, sleet, or snow. Hey, the bagger bro gave us the wave.
A A few moments later.
I did eventually want to move it on to something bigger, and I don't know what it was, but Harley announced the new Lowrider S and the new Lowrider ST and all the other STs, and there was something about the S and ST that really drew me to them, and the determining factor was really the price. Because I could in my head, I could rationalize spending, you know, almost 20 grand on a bike. I got this one for 19, so, you know, almost exactly MSRP. Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I got this one for almost exactly. Oh, the Goldwing bro gave us the wave too. I got this one for almost exactly MSRP, and I could just rationalize that a lot more than I could rationalize spending almost, you know, 25,000 on a bike, or however much the ST is. I'll put the MSRP for it right there. Don't get me wrong, I think the ST is freaking beautiful. I think it's a gorgeous bike, and if it were any cheaper than what it was, I could probably have rationalized getting it, honestly, but just for the fact that it was as expensive as it was, I couldn't do it. Plus, the Lowrider just struck me as more of a blank canvas. You can do so much more with the Lowrider, like just the Lowrider S, than you could with the ST, simply because you wouldn't have to take as much stuff off. I know a lot of people are grabbing, or, you know, trying to grab the ST fairings and putting them on their Lowrider S. Blockhead did a really good video about, you know, coming up with the mount for it and how to actually fit it onto your Lowrider S. But and I think that the fairing looks awesome. Like I said, if it would have been any cheaper, I probably would have rationalized into buying it. But I have the Lowrider S, and I've got no complaints about it. This bike has been nothing but awesome to me. And it's not like I'm a Harley only. I'm a Harley fanboy or anything like that. I do think there are some nice Indians out there and stuff like that. In terms of baggers and stuff like that, I do like certain baggers. I'm a big fan of the Indian Challenger. I'm a big fan of the Road Glide. I'm not a big fan of Street Glides, simply because I really just I don't really dig the look of a Batwing fairing. I don't know what it is. Yeah, the Batwing fairing always just kind of throws me off. Yeah, so as you guys saw, that was a pretty crazy accident. Luckily, it looked like everybody was okay. There were people around the car grabbing stuff from their vehicles, so it doesn't look like anybody got too hurt. Which is awesome. We love to see that. There it is. That is definitely one of the advantages to riding a motorcycle. You can pull a Yui that most cars definitely would not be able to. You know, some of you guys may ask me why I didn't just move up to, you know, one of the newer model Sportsters, like the Sportster S or the Nightster or the Sportster 975 and stuff like that. To be honest, I just really fell in love with the Lowrider S. I don't think that the 975 or the Nightster or the Sportster S are bad bikes by any means. They're just not bikes that I think would feasibly serve my purpose, which I'm sure you can make them serve your purpose. But that would probably entail like a lot more money, specifically because, you know, this is the first model year for some of those bikes, so there's not going to be as much aftermarket support for that like there is for the Softails. And there was for the older there still is for older Sportsters. Like, you can grab an older Sportster and you can make that bike do whatever you want to do. You want it to tour, you can make it into a mini bagger. You want it to rip, you can do a freaking Hooligan 1250 swap, and you know, upgrade the exhaust, do the throw some better cams in there, all the good junk to make that bike scream. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff that you can do with the Sportster. However, the lowrider, for one, was just very aesthetically appealing to me, but for two, it serves my purposes very, very well. I can go on a longer ride and not have to worry about, you know, filling up quite as often, because it has a 5.5 tank as opposed to, you know, a 3.5 or a 3.2, whatever tank, you know, depending on what size of Sportster you get, or what model of Sportster you get, I should say. Oh wow, the traffic on this one's almost as bad. Nah, maybe not. You know, they have these roundabouts because they're supposed to reduce traffic, and I don't know if they have per se. There's other stuff I want to do too. Like I mentioned, I really, really want to go to the 100th anniversary or 120th anniversary in Milwaukee at the Harley-Davidson factory. But there's other stuff I want to do too. If I was able to feasibly do it, I would definitely be willing to go to Sturgis. I would definitely be willing to go to Daytona. I know Daytona just passed, but obviously for next year I would definitely be willing to go to Daytona. I wouldn't have been able to go to Daytona anyway. The bike was still in the shop during Daytona. I got her back maybe a month ago. Yeah, maybe. But like, there's no way I would have been able to go to Daytona. I had to go back to North Carolina to pick up the bike and trailer it back to the house. Luckily, I drive a Silverado 1500. Alrighty guys, so we're back at the house. As you guys can tell, my GoPro battery did die, but just to, you know, keep going from where we left off, I am planning on putting a full system exhaust on the bike and throwing a better cam in there. I just need to obviously narrow down which exhaust and which cam I want to put in there. Not really too worried about performance in terms of the exhaust, like doing a 2-into-1, because obviously that's going to give you better performance numbers, but I'm not really too worried about that right now because you know, the 117 is plenty for me right now, essentially. Coming off of the Sportster especially, you know, having the additional gear and then as well as a larger engine, that's plenty for me right now. Maybe in the future I'll be looking at, you know, bumping it up to a 131 or a 128, something a little more hairy, but as for right now, we're good with the 117. I do also want to throw some larger saddlebags on there. I'm not really sure if I want to do, you know, a Leather Pros type situation where they're a little soft, they're not as rigid, or if I want to go full rigid and go, you know, Viking leather saddlebags, or maybe even the ST saddlebags, because I do actually like the way the ST saddlebags look. However, you know, depending on the exhaust I go with, that might look a little funky, especially since one of the ST saddlebags is a little higher up on the exhaust side, so it's not, looking at it from the back, if I do, you know, the Bassani sweepers where they come just short of that saddlebag, it looks a little funky because it's not all the way back there. To me anyway. If you know, if that's your personal preference to have those saddlebags on even though the exhaust doesn't come all the way back there, so it doesn't look like it has a reason to be that short, that's perfectly fine to you. Hey, more power to you. But for me, other than, you know, the saddlebags, the cam, and the exhaust, I do want to get the bike painted a different color. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I don't call the bike by a name. I have one in mind, but I don't want to call it that name until I have it repainted. So that's just me being particular. But as for right now, those are the plans that I have for the bike. You know, there might be other plans coming in the future, and then any upcoming plans for trips or anything like that, for rallies, stuff like that, you guys will definitely know what trips I'm planning and where I'm going. So until then, I'll see you guys next time. Hey, ride safe.